Your parents sabotage your success, and they don't even know it. From the moment you could walk, they programmed you with their limitations, their fears, their belief systems about money and success. They told you to be grateful for what you have, to not dream too big, to be realistic about your expectations. They taught you that rich people are greedy, that money doesn't buy happiness, that you should be content with a steady job and a modest life. But here's what they never told you. They were passing down generational poverty disguised as wisdom. Every time they said money doesn't grow on trees, they were programming scarcity into your subconscious. Every time they said be realistic, they were killing your dreams before they could take root. Your parents meant well, but they raised you to think like the 99% because that's all they knew. They couldn't teach you what they never learned themselves. Right now, while you sit here, there are 7.8 billion people walking this earth. But here's what will shake you to your core. Only 78 million of them will ever break free from the invisible chains that keep the rest trapped in mediocrity. That's exactly 1%. The other 99% will live their entire lives wondering what could have been, what should have been, what would have been if only they had made different choices, you see. Most people think success is about luck, connections, or being born into the right family. But I'm here to shatter that lie today. Success is not about where you start. It's about where you decide to go and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. Let me share with you something that happened just last month that will change how you see opportunity forever. There was a man named Thomas who worked as a parking lot attendant in downtown Chicago for 17 years. Every single day, he would watch wealthy business people drive their expensive cars into that lot. Mercedes, BMWs, Porsches, millions of dollars worth of vehicles passing through his hands daily for 17 years. He watched other people's success park right in front of him, but Thomas was different. While other attendants complained about their low wages and dreamed of winning the lottery, Thomas was studying. Every lunch break, he would sit in that little booth and read books about real estate, investments, and business. The other workers laughed at him. They called him crazy. They said a parking lot attendant could never become wealthy. Here's where it gets interesting. Thomas noticed something the wealthy car owners didn't even see. Every day, he watched which businesses in the surrounding area were thriving and which ones were struggling. He saw patterns. He observed foot traffic. He noticed which buildings had the most activity, which ones had the best locations, which ones the wealthy people frequented most. After 17 years of watching and learning, Thomas made a decision that changed everything. He took every penny he had saved, $23.00, and instead of buying a new car or taking a vacation like his co-workers suggested, he put a down payment on a small commercial building 3 blocks away from where he worked. Everyone thought he had lost his mind, but Thomas saw what others couldn't see. He had been in the perfect position to study success for 17 years. While the 99% were looking at what they didn't have, Thomas was studying what the 1% were doing. That first building became 2 buildings. 2 became 4. 4 became an entire real estate portfolio worth over $3 million. The parking lot attendant became a millionaire not because he was lucky, not because he had connections, not because he was born into wealth. He became wealthy because he refused to accept that his current position determined his future position. Now here's what separates Thomas from the millions of other parking lot attendants across the world. It wasn't his education. He barely finished high school. It wasn't his background. He grew up in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Chicago. It wasn't even his starting capital. $23.00 is not a fortune by any standard. What made Thomas different was his refusal to think like the 99%. While everyone around him was trapped in survival thinking, Thomas developed abundance thinking. While others saw problems, he saw opportunities. While others made excuses, he made plans. While others waited for their situation to change, he changed his situation. The harsh truth is this: the 99% are not trapped by their circumstances. They are trapped by their thinking. They have been programmed from birth to believe that their current situation is permanent, that their background determines their future, that success is for other people but not for them. Society has created an invisible prison, and the walls are made of limiting beliefs. The 99% live their entire lives inside this prison, never realizing that the door was never locked. They were always free to leave, but they were convinced they had to stay. The 1% discovered something the 99% never learn. Your current reality is not your permanent reality. Where you are today is simply the result of the decisions you made yesterday. Where you'll be tomorrow will be the result of the decisions you make today. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think becoming part of the 1% means becoming rich. Money is just one measure of success, and it's not even the most important one. The true 1% are those who refuse to settle for less than their full potential in every area of life: their relationships, their health, their contribution to society, their personal growth, and yes, their finances. The 1% understands something that the 99% never grasp. You don't get in life what you want. You get what you are. If you want to have more, you must become more. If you want to do more, you must become more. If you want to contribute more, you must become more. This is why the 99% stay trapped. They keep trying to change their circumstances without changing themselves. They want different results while maintaining the same thoughts, same habits, same associations, same daily routines. That's not how life works. That's not how success works. That's not how breakthrough works. The moment you decide to think differently, you begin to live differently. The moment you decide to act differently, you begin to attract different results. The moment you decide to become part of the 1%, the universe begins to rearrange itself to accommodate your decision. Your breaking point is not when life breaks you down. Your breaking point is when you break through the limitations that have been holding you back. Today can be that breaking point if you choose to make it so. But how do you actually make that breakthrough? How do you cross from the 99% to the 1%? It starts with understanding one fundamental truth. Everything you have right now is a result of the person you are right now. Everything you will have tomorrow will be a result of the person you become today. This is not about positive thinking or wishful hoping. This is about a complete mental revolution. It's about changing the operating system of your mind from limitation to possibility, from scarcity to abundance, from victim to victor. Let me tell you about Elena Rodriguez. 23 years ago, Elena was a single mother cleaning office buildings at night in Los Angeles. Every evening at 6 p.m., she would drop her 8-year-old daughter at her mother's house and head to work with a cart full of cleaning supplies. For minimum wage, she would scrub toilets, empty trash cans, and vacuum carpets in the same offices where executives made million-dollar decisions during the day. Most people in Elena's position would focus on their problems. Single mother, no education beyond high school, working nights for barely enough money to pay rent, no connections in the business world, no savings account, no safety net. The 99% would see only limitations. They would spend their energy complaining about the system, about how unfair life is, about how the rich get richer while the poor stay poor. But Elena's mind worked differently. While she cleaned those offices, she wasn't just emptying trash cans. She was studying. She noticed which companies were expanding, which ones were hiring, which ones seemed to be making the most money. She read the business magazines left on desks. She listened to the conversations of late-working executives. She observed the systems and processes that made these businesses successful. One night, while cleaning the office of a commercial real estate company, Elena found a list of properties that were about to be foreclosed. Instead of throwing it in the trash like anyone else would do, she took that list home. She didn't know anything about real estate. But she knew opportunity when she saw it. Here's where the mindset revolution happened. Instead of thinking, I'm just a cleaning lady, I can't do anything with this information, Elena thought, how can I turn this information into opportunity? Instead of focusing on what she lacked, she focused on what she could learn. Instead of seeing barriers, she saw bridges waiting to be built. Elena spent the next 6 months learning everything she could about foreclosures, about real estate investing, about property management. She asked questions. She made phone calls. She knocked on doors. She got rejected more times than she could count. But rejection didn't stop her. It educated her. With the $3.00 she had saved from her cleaning job, Elena bought her first foreclosed property. It was small. It needed work. But it was hers. She fixed it up herself during the day, still cleaned offices at night, and rented it out for 3 times what her mortgage payment was. That one property became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became 15. Today, Elena owns over 60 rental properties across Southern California. She employs 12 people. She's worth more than most of the executives whose offices she used to clean. But here's the most important part. She still remembers exactly what it felt like to push that cleaning cart through those hallways. The difference between Elena and the millions of other people cleaning offices across America was not her circumstances, it was her mindset. She understood something that the 99% never learn. Your current job is not your career, it's your classroom. Your current situation is not your destination, it's your starting point. Your current income is not your worth, it's your tuition for learning how to earn more. The 1% don't wait for perfect conditions to start. They don't wait until they have enough money, enough education, enough connections, enough time. They start where they are, with what they have, and they learn as they go. They understand that you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. This mindset revolution happens in 3 stages. First, you must accept complete responsibility for where you are right now. No blaming your parents, your education, your circumstances, the economy, the government, or anyone else. The moment you accept responsibility, you reclaim your power to change. Now that you understand the mindset, let me show you exactly how the 1% turn thoughts into reality. Because here's what separates dreamers from achievers. Action. Consistent. Daily. Purposeful action that compounds over time into extraordinary results. There was a carpenter named Robert who worked construction in Phoenix, Arizona, every day for 12 years. He would drive past this massive luxury development on his way to various job sites. $1 million homes, perfectly manicured lawns, gates that opened only for the wealthy. Robert would look at those houses and think the same thought every single day. Someday, I'm going to live in a place like that. But Robert was different from most people who dream about wealth. He didn't just wish for a better life, he reverse engineered it. He asked himself one simple question that changed everything. What would I need to do every single day to make this dream inevitable instead of impossible? That question led Robert to a discovery that most people never make. He realized that the wealthy people living in those houses didn't get there through one big breakthrough moment. They got there through small, consistent actions repeated daily over years. They didn't win the lottery or inherit fortunes. They built their wealth brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day. So Robert created what he called his inevitable success plan. Every morning before work, he would spend 1 hour studying real estate and construction business principles. Every lunch break, he would make 3 phone calls to potential clients. Every evening after work, he would spend 30 minutes planning the next day's activities and reviewing his progress. The other construction workers thought Robert was crazy. They would spend their lunch breaks playing cards or complaining about their bosses. They would spend their evenings watching television or hanging out at bars. They couldn't understand why Robert was always reading business books or making phone calls about side projects. But Robert understood something they didn't. Small actions performed consistently create massive results over time. While his co-workers were focused on their hourly wage, Robert was building his future 1 hour at a time. Here's what happened. Those morning study sessions taught Robert everything about construction project management, cost estimation, and client relations. Those lunch break phone calls generated his first independent contracting jobs. Those evening planning sessions helped him systematize his approach and track his progress. Within 3 years, Robert had enough side work to quit his construction job and start his own company. Within 5 years, his company was building custom homes for middle-class families. Within 8 years, he was the contractor of choice for luxury home builders in Phoenix. Within 12 years, Robert was not just living in that luxury development. He was the one building the houses in it. The 1% understand that success is not about one grand gesture or one perfect plan. Success is about doing small things consistently over long periods of time. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about taking action when inspiration strikes and taking action when it doesn't. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. They want immediate results from minimal effort. They want maximum return from minimum investment. That's not how the world works. That's not how success works. The action blueprint is simple, but not easy. Choose one goal that would significantly improve your life. Break that goal down into daily actions. Perform those actions consistently regardless of how you feel, regardless of immediate results, regardless of what other people think. Success is not complicated, it's just not convenient. The 1% do what's not convenient today so they can live how they want tomorrow. The 99% do what's convenient today and wonder why tomorrow never changes. Your daily actions are either building the life you want or building the life you'll settle for. Every single day, you're making deposits into your future or withdrawals from your potential. The choice is always yours. But what happens when you take all the right actions and still face rejection? What happens when you develop the right mindset and life still hits you with setbacks? What happens when you follow the blueprint and obstacles still appear? This is where the 1% separate themselves from everyone else, not in their successes, but in how they handle their failures. Angela was a restaurant server in Nashville who had a dream of opening her own catering business. She had the mindset, she had the action plan, she had saved $8.00 to get started. But what she didn't expect was the wall of rejection that was about to test everything she believed about herself. Angela's first potential client said no. Her second said no. Her 10th said no. By the time she reached her 20th rejection, her friends were telling her to give up. By her 30th rejection, her family was suggesting she focus on keeping her server job. By her 40th rejection, Angela herself was beginning to doubt whether she had what it takes. The difference between the 1% and the 99% is not that the 1% don't face rejection. It's that they refuse to let rejection define them. While the 99% see rejection as proof that they're not meant to succeed, the 1% see rejection as information, as feedback, as fuel for improvement after her 47th rejection. Angela made a decision that changed everything. Instead of giving up, she asked herself a different question. What is rejection trying to teach me? She started analyzing every no she received. She started studying why people said no. She started refining her approach based on the feedback. What Angela discovered was revolutionary. The rejections weren't random. They were pointing her toward her real opportunity. Most people were saying no to her catering services because they already had caterers they trusted. But many were mentioning that they struggled to find someone who could handle last-minute corporate events, weekend emergencies, and specialty dietary requirements. Angela pivoted. Instead of competing with established caterers for planned events, she became the go-to solution for emergency catering situations. She built a business around what others saw as problems: short notice, difficult requirements, impossible timeline. That 48th call wasn't just a yes. It was a $15.00 contract for a corporate emergency event that needed to be executed in 2 days. The client was so impressed with Angela's ability to deliver under pressure that they became her biggest advocate, referring her to dozens of other companies today. Angela's emergency catering company serves major corporations across 3 states. She employs over 30 people. She has turned what most people see as the worst possible catering scenarios into her competitive advantage. But none of this would have happened if she had given up after rejection number 10 or 20 or even 47. The 1% understand that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the foundation of success. Every no gets you closer to the yes that will change your life. Every setback teaches you something that success cannot teach. Every obstacle reveals strength you didn't know you possessed. Most people quit right before their breakthrough. They give up when they're 3 feet from gold. They surrender when victory is just around the corner. The 1% have trained themselves to persist when persistence seems impossible. Resilience is not about being strong enough to never fall down. Resilience is about being strong enough to get back up every single time you fall down. It's about understanding that temporary defeat is not permanent failure. It's about knowing that your current situation is not your final destination. The 99% let one bad day become a bad week, one bad week become a bad month, one bad month become a bad year. The 1% treat every setback as a setup for a comeback. They understand that the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Now we come to the most important part of this entire conversation. Because becoming part of the 1% is not just about what you achieve for yourself. It's about what you create for others. It's about understanding that your breakthrough is not just about your life. It's about every life you have the power to touch, change, and transform. Let me tell you about Harold, a man whose story will forever change how you think about success and significance. Harold worked as a janitor at a local elementary school in a small town in Iowa for 43 years. Every morning at 5 a.m., he would unlock the school doors. Every afternoon at 6 p.m., he would lock them behind him. For 4 decades, Harold mopped floors, cleaned bathrooms, and made sure the school was ready for children to learn. Most people saw Harold as just the janitor. Teachers would nod politely when they passed him in the hallways. Students barely noticed him at all. Parents had no idea he even existed. To the outside world, Harold was invisible, insignificant. Just another working class man doing a working class job for working class wages. But Harold saw himself differently. Harold understood something that most people never grasp. Your job title doesn't determine your impact. Your heart does. Your salary doesn't determine your significance. Your service does. Every day, while Harold cleaned those classrooms, he made a decision that would change hundreds of lives. Instead of just doing his job, Harold chose to invest in the future. Every month, Harold would take a portion of his modest janitor's salary and put it into a savings account. Not for a new car, not for a vacation, not for himself at all. Harold was saving for something bigger than his own comfort. He was saving for other people's possibilities. But here's where Harold's story becomes extraordinary. Harold didn't just save money randomly. He was strategic, intentional, purposeful about his investments. While other people his age were watching television in the evenings, Harold was studying the stock market. While others were complaining about their situations, Harold was educating himself about compound interest, mutual funds, and long-term wealth building year after year. Harold lived below his means. He drove the same old car for 15 years. He lived in the same small apartment for 20 years. He wore the same work clothes until they had holes in them. People thought Harold was cheap. But Harold was actually building something that none of them could see. Harold was creating a legacy. When Harold retired after 43 years of service, the school district threw him a small party. They gave him a watch and a certificate. Everyone said nice things about his years of faithful service. But nobody had any idea what Harold had really been doing all those decades while he quietly cleaned their school. 2 months after Harold's retirement, the local newspaper ran a story that shocked the entire community. Harold had just donated $1.2 million to the elementary school where he had worked as a janitor. $1.2 million. From a man who earned less than $30, 0 cents a year, and never asked for recognition, never sought attention, never demanded credit. But the story gets even more powerful. Harold didn't just write one check and walk away. He had created a comprehensive scholarship fund that would pay for college education for deserving students from low-income families for generations to come. Harold had calculated exactly how much money it would take to send one child to college every single year, forever. The school named the scholarship program after Harold, but he insisted they remove his name. He said the scholarship wasn't about honoring him, it was about empowering others. Harold understood that true success is not about what you accumulate for yourself, it's about what you create for others. Over the next 5 years, before Harold passed away, he watched 12 students receive full college scholarships from his fund. Students who never would have had the opportunity for higher education. Students whose families could never have afforded college tuition. Students who went on to become teachers, doctors, engineers, and business owners. But here's what makes Harold's story the perfect example of 1% thinking. Harold didn't wait until he was wealthy to start making a difference. He started making a difference on his janitor's salary. He didn't wait until he had millions to begin building his legacy. He started building his legacy $1 at a time. Harold proved that you don't have to be rich to think rich. You don't have to be powerful to be influential. You don't have to be famous to be significant. Harold showed that ordinary people can create extraordinary impact when they think beyond themselves. This is what separates the true 1% from everyone else. The 99% think success is about what they can get. The 1% understand that success is about what they can give. The 99% measure success by what they accumulate. The 1% measure success by what they contribute. Your life is not just about you. Your success is not just for you. Your breakthrough is not just about you. When you join the 1%, you accept responsibility not just for your own life, but for the lives of people. You have the power to influence, inspire, and impact. Right now, there are people in your family, in your community, in your workplace who are watching you. They are watching to see if it's possible for someone like them to break through. They are watching to see if someone from their background, their circumstances, their situation can actually make it. Your success or failure will determine whether they believe it's possible for them. This is your moment of decision. This is your moment of choice. This is your moment to decide whether you will remain part of the 99% who settle for survival or join the 1% who strive for significance. Will you be someone who makes excuses or someone who makes a difference? Will you be someone who accepts limitations or someone who breaks barriers? Will you be someone who follows the crowd or someone who leads the change? The world needs what you have to offer. The world needs your gifts, your talents, your perspective, your contribution. But you will never give what you have to offer if you remain trapped in mediocrity. You will never impact others if you don't first impact yourself. You will never change the world if you don't first change your world. Harold started with a janitor's salary and created $1 million legacy. Thomas started as a parking lot attendant and built a real estate empire. Elena started as a night cleaner and became a property mogul. Robert started as a construction worker and became a luxury home builder. Angela started as a restaurant server and built a multi-state catering company. What will your story be? What legacy will you create? What difference will you make? The choice is yours. The time is now, and the world is waiting for you to step into the 1% of people who refuse to settle for anything less than their absolute best. Your breakthrough starts today. Your legacy begins now. Welcome to the 1%.